style. We're so glad that you've joined us today. Amazing the number of things taking place in our world. And, we want to be a part of solutions to a lot of good things that need to happen. And so we get a chance here on this show every week to interview some really unique people. We're going to interview someone really special to me, and I'll talk about her in just a minute. But at Powell To The People, KXEX 1550 AM, Saturdays at 4, Sundays at 6, we talk politics, education, religion, technology, sports, values, healthy communities, and we're going to talk politics for a little bit. We're in that season, folks. As you know, June's coming, and we've got some elections that are right ahead of us. And I got to tell you, if we don't get out and vote, you don't have any reason to complain about anything. So you got to put your name on the ballot out there. We'd love to have a lot more people that are really competent, that are people of integrity, of character, and things running for office. We got one of them today, and we're going to talk about that. Listen, you can also hear Good News with Larry Powell, nothing but good news, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and at 4 p.m. You can also catch us on your schedule. That's at Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. We've got it streaming and a place for you to hear what's taking place in the world and around Fresno. So we're really happy you've joined us today. Well, I've got a very special guest with me today. Her name is Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer. And Michele worked with me. We got to know each other. She was the PIO, Public Information Officer, when I was selected as the county superintendent in Central. And I was working in Fresno Unified at the time, and I was a special ed superintendent for special education, 17,000 kids and all kinds of stuff. We had a lot of things going. Anyway, it was a great time. She came to my office and she said, Larry, what do you need? And so we started a relationship from that point on. Dr. Michele Cofer, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here with you all.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm so excited that you're running for office, and we're going to talk about that, particularly in our fourth segment today. But we've got four segments, and I want to talk about your family and a little bit about your history and some of the things that you're involved in. But tell me about your family. You got two really great kids. You got a husband that is really a fantastic guy. So tell me about your family and share with our audience.
I have a wonderful family, and family is everything. In fact, we're all in various forms of service in our community and in society. My husband, John, who was my high school sweetheart, we both grew up in Riverdale.
Hey, Alan Autry country.
Alan Autry country. Proud, so proud
Yeah.
of my hometown and my experience having grown up in such a nurturing setting.
That's great.
John and I then moved to Fresno, and we were married for 10 full years before we started our family. Today we have Claire, who's a 23-year-old second-year law school student at McGeorge in Sacramento.
Fantastic.
And my son, Quade, just graduated from high school last year and is a first-year student at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis.
That's fantastic. In fact, Dot's brother, Bill Brewer, who's an attorney here in town, was the city attorney for Fresno, is an Annapolis graduate as well, was brigade commander, flew the A-7E over Vietnam off the USS Kitty Hawk. So we love the U.S. Naval Academy, and we like to beat Army.
Yes, we do. Go Navy, beat Army.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And, one of the really unique things, both of your kids were very bright, did very well in school, but you also did something with them that I think is unique. You made sure that they participated in a lot of give back areas, where it wasn't just do your school and have fun and all of that, but they returned to the community even when they were in high school. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. It's tough to be a kid these days. And I found that by helping my children recognize their sense of responsibility to others, their other-centeredness, that it helped them put in perspective the unique challenges that they were experiencing. So I have to say that while it was a family value to serve others, it was so mutually beneficial for my children to recognize that the issues that they were dealing with were smaller than the others that they were serving. So, for example, both of my children chose. I said, you must serve, but you can choose whatever you'd like to. It could
good.
It could be children, it could be dogs, it can be homelessness, it can be hungry folks. You just choose. Both of my children chose to serve their peers at Valley Children's Hospital.
Wow.
And I can tell you that I would pick them up from school. They could have had a difficult experience in the cafeteria or on the yard or with a teacher. And when they crossed the threshold into the hospital
Hmm.
and they were working, volunteering among others that were serving, it was such a powerful experience that I
It
could
is.
visibly see them change from the issues that they were challenged by to an opportunity to serve others. And it was actually beautiful to watch as a parent.
Well, and we've been in education. How long have you been in education now? I was in 43 years plus about another 10-year advising, but
32 years.
32 years. Wow. So
Wow is right.
you're on the veteran side of
I
things
am.
here,
Feeling seasoned these
Yeah.
days.
One of the things we learned in watching kids, when we got them to do something for somebody else, it changed them more than it did the people they helped. It was phenomenal to see what happens when you realize it's not about you, it's about everybody else. And when you do that, it changes fundamentally who you are. It
Which
makes
really,
us a better person.
absolutely. And frankly, it's a biblical experience
Yep.
to really recognize to whom much is given, much is expected
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
It became kind of not a motto, but again, a value in
Value
our
in your family.
home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's really neat. And now you've got the Naval Academy, you've got McGeorge School of Law, you've got everything covered. So when you get into office as the county superintendent of schools, you got backup. And John at the sheriff's office
Yes,
here.
yes. I didn't mention that my husband has been with the sheriff's department for 34 years.
Yeah.
Lieutenant, so proud of being able to serve and protect our community, and proud of his peers that work with him. And we've been
Tough jobs.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. In fact, being a cop and a teacher was a thing for us when we first got married. I didn't always bring home stories about the kids that were challenged in my classroom.
Yeah. Well, and John was working with the jail too for a while. I know. Is he still
He
doing
is.
that?
He's still
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
What a challenge, because the catch and release stuff that the governor has done has put us in a really tough spot. But we've got a lot of bad people that need to stay in jail.
Yes.
And yet obviously you treat them with dignity and all of those kinds of things. But there is a punishment for doing certain things. And John's a great guy, and I love his attitude. So yeah, you've got a great family, Michele.
Yes.
It's really cool.
And a lot of support. I didn't go into this decision lightly.
Yep.
I talked with them about the fact that our family would have some attention and some scrutiny, and that we needed to have each other's backs. And John, in particular, has been a wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And then you've got a good story about your mom. Your mom just got married.
Yes, she
All
did.
right. And I know she lives in Washington, D.C., so she's
Yes.
close to the seat of power.
Yes.
And I don't know if that affected you saying, well, maybe I should run for office, But she's right near the Naval Academy there. And on weekends, she gets to do something really special. Tell us about that.
Yes. So my mom and my stepdad live about 20 minutes away from where my son is in school. And if you know much about Annapolis, every day is a challenge.
Yes.
My son gets up at 5 a.m., runs 7 miles, then goes into a calculus class followed by a chemistry class.
Wow.
It is a very difficult, under pressure experience at all times. And my parents will drive over on the weekend, pick him up, and as many kids as they can fit into their car. They promptly drive the 20 minutes to their home. They sleep. My son and his peers sleep for
Head to
about
bed, baby.
Yes, exactly. Then they get up and they eat every single thing in the house. And then my mother, irons their uniforms so that the creases are just so,
Wow.
and then pack them up the next day and take them back to the rigor of their experience in Annapolis.
I don't know if people realize, but our leadership at Annapolis, the folks who come out of there and become leaders in the Naval Academy, are doing amazing service around the world, not just there, but they get out and they can be stationed anywhere. I mean, they, depending on the kind of jobs they're interested in and their pursuits. What's Quaid thinking about right now? Do you have any idea, or has he shared with you?
He's pursuing a degree in something called operations research. I don't know much about that, but I understand it's to optimize and make it efficient most any operation. So I think it's a wide ranged opportunity for him for his future.
Yeah.
That said, I think he really wants to be a naval pilot.
Just like Dot's brother, Bill Brewer. Boy,
Yeah.
I'll tell you. And it is exciting. I just happened to play golf with two F-18 pilots from Lemoore a couple of weeks ago in a tournament, and their stories are amazing. And these guys are so skilled. It's a remarkable thing for us to have people like that serving us here in America and doing the things that protect us, and we can sleep well at night because of it. So
I
it's
agree.
really good.
The character of the average student in Annapolis is awesome to me.
Yep.
And it is what I hope to help inspire in all of our children.
Integrity and character, boy, two really good traits. You know, it's hard to believe, Michele, we're already done with our first segment. It just goes so fast, at 12 minutes. But folks, we're so glad that you've joined us at Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're going to be right
People on the best talk in town.
Well, welcome back to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. You know, and that's a saying, but it's something I really believe. When we can talk to each other in a civil manner, it makes a huge difference. And America has a great tradition of disagreeing with each other, but pulling together at the end of elections and those kinds of times. So civility is really an important thing to me. And then also as a pastor, how important it is for us to be civil with one another, treat each other with respect. And in education, that's something we teach from the get-go is how do you get along? And, we've just gone through 2 years of COVID, tough time, isolation, kids staying in their homes, doing education over the computer, which is what we never intended for any kid to have to go through. But I want to talk a little bit about your education and some of your passions, because I know you're passionate about so many things. But tell me about your education. Where'd you get your college, and what'd you do?
Yeah, well, once again, I started I was in high school in Riverdale. I went to Fresno State for 2 of my degrees.
Once a bulldog, always a bulldog.
Yes, forever. Yes. And then I sought my doctorate in Pasadena at the University of Laverne.
Okay. That's wonderful. And so what section of education did you get your doctorate in?
Educational leadership.
Leadership. Hey, folks, and if you're going to be a county superintendent of schools, educational leadership is kind of a must. So,
Yes,
so you were prescient. You had some knowledge in advance that something like that might be a good thing to do.
That's true. That's
now, I know you generally go through that with a cohort.
Yes.
So did you have a cohort from here in Fresno that did that?
I did. In fact, it gives me an opportunity to tell you a little bit more about my preparation for my career as well. I started my career in Clovis Unified.
Yes.
Where I had extraordinary mentors. And in fact, Dr. Buchanan himself was a mentor of mine. And he and Dr. Walt Buster invited us to have the opportunity to work as a team. There were 12 of us that pursued the doctorate together.
Neat.
Which was built-in support, built-in network. And that experience was a powerful way to learn and grow.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Walt Buster, former superintendent at Clovis, but he volunteered and didn't get paid and was superintendent in Fresno Unified in an interim role, and has said that it was such a rewarding time to work with kids that are challenged more than others, have circumstances that are really beyond. When you think about the second highest poverty district in the nation, Fresno Unified, which makes up the lion's share of the 200,000 plus kids in Fresno County. You got 70-some thousand of them here in Fresno. And education was one of their tickets to success. It's a way to get out of and out from under a whole lot of really negative things. So you were in Clovis. Where else did you get your education, or did you spend time in education?
Well, in the middle of the doctoral program, I really wanted to be part of a district that was going to grow, and I sought the opportunity to go to Central Unified, where I got to work with you, Larry.
Yeah, that was a good time.
It was a great time. Remember, there were about 7,000 kids in Central Unified, and by the time you left, 10 years later, we had a student enrollment of about 15,000.
Isn't it wild?
We were growing a school a year. It was such an exciting time to be part of growing a district, helping to establish a cultural of a climate and culture of excellence.
Yes.
It's just a very exhilarating time.
Well, and think about it. Places like Granville Homes and other places decided that Central was going to be a unique place, and we had a couple of things we wanted to. Arts, agriculture, academics, and athletics. So everybody gets an A, We wanted that to happen. And we, as much as I love Clovis, we wanted to beat Clovis in everything we could, whether it was academics or athletics. But, that healthy competition is really a good thing. And Central grew 800 to 1,000 kids a year for a period of time there. So you've experienced what it's like to be in a district that's just burgeoning. I'm just blowing up in terms of the numbers and all the adjustments you have to make, because it's not easy. You can't build schools fast, so you have to get community support. You got to get the state to work with you. So you've been through that kind of effort. So that's prepared you for a lot of things that are going on in the Fresno County area as well.
Absolutely.
So you were at Clovis, you were at Central, and then where'd you go from there?
I took a 2-year hiatus to State Center Community College District, and while I loved the experience, because really community college is a significant equity and access opportunity for children in Fresno County, the older kids did not make my heart sing. So I followed you and Jim Jovino to the office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, where I've been there for the last 15 years.
It's hard to believe it's gone fast. Wow. Well, folks, in case you're not aware, preschool through K-14 is what the county superintendent actually is involved in, and budgets from State Center actually come to the county to be reviewed. So it's a K-14 system that you're seeking to lead.
It is.
And so your experience there, see, I think God had a plan to put you there for a couple of years so you could get some insight into that part of the thing. So you've got preschool through K-14 experience, which perfectly sets you up for some things that are going to be happening in that election thing. But tell me a little bit about your passions. What got you into education to begin with?
I think children it's our moral imperative to raise them up well, and not just through education, but holistically, spiritually, emotionally, physically. It's every caring adult's highest priority. And I felt like that since, frankly, I had the opportunity to observe, frankly, how we work as a society, and the opportunity to invest in them. And over the years, I figured out where my skills are most salient and productive, if you will. And it's inspiring and leading others to provide those day-to-day opportunities, interactions with children.
Love it. Yeah.
And it's I feel like 32 years of my career have led to this precise moment and this opportunity to lead our educational system at the county level. We have 32 very competent and extraordinarily good superintendents. We have strong leadership in our school boards in our county. And we have students that we need to bring them on the other side of this, health scare and public health issue, and bring them back into the fold where they feel a strong sense of belonging, and are ready to become productively.
No, exactly. Well, the governor has really been pushing, along with the state legislature, social emotional development. And I call it personal social interaction, PSI for me. But our kids, because they went through isolation and being separate from everybody, they really have to relearn how to get along with each other, and how to acquire the talents that they sometimes have hidden, but we know they have. And then our teachers have just been burned out for a period of 2 years. Nobody went to school to become a teacher and to teach from your computer,
right?
And do distance learning. We just weren't prepared for that. But I've got to tell you, the Fresno County Office of Education and under Superintendent Jim Jovino, they met once a week on a Zoom call with about 80 people, including all the superintendents, some board members, you name it, anybody involved in education, to help them understand how you could best serve kids during that 2 years. Well, as you know, the taxes have just been, the resources has just been coming into California. In January, the governor presented a budget. It's a preliminary budget. By May 15th, when the revise is coming out from the governor's office, it looks like we're going to have $16 to $17 billion more. 40% of that goes to education. And when you think about it, you're coming in at a time when money isn't everything, but money does help to do the kinds of things to restore confidence, to restore passion, if you will, in kids. And social emotional training is something that has to happen, and then relief for teachers. So what are your thoughts in that whole arena with what we've gone through with COVID and stuff?
I'm So excited about the opportunities to influence in this arena that I'm not sleeping well at night. I tell you, there's something about honoring our teachers. We
Yes.
absolutely need to revert back to some of the basics of honoring and demonstrating that respect to teachers and the school process. There's a lot of incivility in place right now,
Yep.
and we really need to counteract on that. It's for the benefit of our children. To be
Right.
honest with you, they're watching. So that said, I'm really proud of how our office responded to the crisis. We felt very, very responsible to do outreach and support and to pave the way and to interact with folks in Sacramento, all of which are appropriate roles for our office to take.
Yep.
That again, we recognize that students really needed those supports and social emotionally, and that we would need to have some very deliberate assets placed in our schools. One of which is our All for Youth program, where we have a medical clinician in every school now.
Say that again. I don't think people realize we don't just educate kids anymore. The County Office of Education is doing social emotional counseling, encouragement. Say that again, what you guys are doing. I think it's absolutely phenomenal.
I'm not surprised you need to repeat that. It's the first of its kind in the state of California,
Wow.
and everyone is paying
Maybe
attention
nationally.
to us.
Yeah.
Maybe even nationally. It's a function of the collaboration that happens in this community, because this community cares deeply about their children. The Department of Behavioral Health at Fresno County and the Board of Supervisors recognized that we could better serve children with their funds in our schools.
I love
And
it.
our office took the responsibility of hiring 200 staff members in an arena that's not even our wheelhouse, behavioral health and medical clinicians, to serve children where they were, where we could best meet their needs in their natural environment, if you will. And the opportunity to see them and serve them in that manner has been very proactive, and frankly, the need is evident. In fact, it's more so than we're even prepared for, but we're meeting it regularly. We're interacting with regular ed teachers so that they understand how to better provide trauma-informed instruction. There is a lot of heart going on in our schools right now, and I'm very, very proud of how adults are serving children.
Well, that's fantastic. And folks, let me tell you the benefit of this whole idea of having social emotional support in a school as opposed to sending somebody to something to get support is you guys are fast. You can deliver services quickly. A kid or family that's hurting, those resources can be delivered in a very, very quick manner. You can get to solutions a lot faster. Kids don't have to suffer nearly as long. I mean, it is a phenomenal thing when you think about it. And I just think it's one of the waves of the future. And you guys are groundbreakers in that. So the Fresno County Office of Education, think about this, having somebody at your school who can help you emotionally get over the trauma. And you mentioned another thing that folks don't realize is trauma-informed instruction is now becoming a training that is taking place with a lot of educators so that we understand the isolation, the severe lives that kids have to live. And when they come to school, we're going to help them get through that with a holistic approach to kids. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Well, folks, you can't believe it. We're done with our second segment already. Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer is here, and we're going to talk about her running for the county's top job, the top educator in Fresno County with 32 school districts, a whole bunch of charter schools, a lot of kids, over 200,000 of them, and she's going to have a chance to impact and influence all of those. We're certainly glad you're with us. We'll be right back.
To the people on the best talk in town.
I just love that. Some things never change. A lot of people go, oh man, some things never change. Well, this is God's love and faithfulness never changes. So we're really in a good point right here and a good place to be. We're with Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer, who is a candidate for Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And folks, I'll tell you what, that's the top educator in Fresno County. And I had the pleasure of serving the folks here in Fresno County for a couple of terms. Jim Jovino's been in for a couple of terms. He's decided to spend some time with his grandkids, maybe play a little golf, and obviously he's a man of talent, so he's going to do other things as well. But it's really neat. And then Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer is running for office, and we've been talking about something, Michele, that I think is really critical, and it's trauma-informed instruction. I don't think, teachers, they learned their ABCs, they learned history, they learned science, they learned all kinds of things, but we're now having to deal with the lives that kids live outside of schools. Obviously, we've always dealt with the difficulties inside school, relationships and all those kind of things, but they bring life from home and the neighborhood to school, and how we handle that either tells us they're going to learn or not learn. So trauma-informed instruction is one of those really big keys right now.
Absolutely. It's about, again, meeting families and children where they are.
Yep.
When we get the opportunity, we really do a 2-gen approach as well, and try to holistically support families, which is really, in the last segment, you mentioned the state budget. We're so excited about $3 billion that are earmarked for community schools.
Yes.
Because a trauma-informed instruction, having a medical clinician in the school site is really about holistic supports for children, even social services for children, that now the school community is becoming the social hub. And we're now going to have some support from the state to design that type of school for our children and for our families. And in Fresno County, we're better prepared to do that than any other county, I'm convinced, in the state of California.
There's 58 counties, and Fresno's number one.
Fresno is pretty extraordinary because of the work we've been doing for the last 10 years with our civic infrastructure.
Yeah.
We have partners in every single sector and every single corner. And it's about being devoted to our children, prioritizing their health and well-being and their education. And again, we've been working towards this kind of support for years.
Yeah. When folks hear community schools, they usually think of alternative education outside the mainstream, but the community schools we're talking about now are basically bringing that holistic approach to every school, all of our kids, all of our families, and the governor's putting some money behind that to make that happen. So, in fact, ELOP money is some money that's been designated, and we love acronyms in education, ELOP, and we're trying to find ways to make sure that our kids learn as quickly as they can, learn as efficiently as they can, because every educated kid in Fresno County is an asset to us and is a taxpayer. And I always used to like to say that, I want every kid working because they're going to help pay my retirement, so I want kids to be successful. A lot of people think, well, teachers just kind of go through the motions. That's not true at all.
Not at all.
And they love their kids. They absolutely love their kids. And now they're having to pick up a lot of extra things because we still have some kids that are on computer instruction, distance learning. They're just not ready to get back. In fact, one of the challenges that I think you're going to be facing in the years to come, 110,000 kids are not back in public school in California. So what are your thoughts about what do we need to be doing in that arena?
So this is another opportunity for me. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm pretty biased about Fresno County.
Yeah.
I just got interviewed by EdSource, a California-wide publication about why is Fresno County's enrollment not dropping to the extent that others are across the state.
Yes.
And it's really plain and simple. We have extraordinary schools. We have 32 school districts with good, really strong schools. We have 28 charter schools, and we have 11 faith-based schools.
Yes.
Parents have choice, and we are doing a phenomenal job of making sure children feel warm, welcome, a sense of belonging at their school, that they're at safe places, and that we are devoted to them. That said, we also have, when we had students who didn't feel comfortable coming back to school, we made sure they didn't leave their districts. They're online.
Yes.
So we have online schools. Fresno unifies 4,000 kids that as soon as they're ready to come back to public school, or rather to their home school, there will be an open door for them. But in the meantime, we accommodated them where they were with their family.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Our districts did a phenomenal job of being supportive, family-centered, and accommodating against extraordinary efforts.
Well, and I mentioned that 80 people were on that Zoom call every week, and one of the unique things about that, and you can credit Superintendent Jim Jovino for setting that whole thing up, had folks from the health department, had people from Valley Children's Hospital. I mean, we had folks on those calls. I got to sit in on a few of those as well, just as the old man in the corner there, but to give a word or two. But it's interesting. Fresno is one of the few places that really did that kind of connection other people connected, but not on a weekly basis. And you mentioned something really important. Charter schools are public schools. And so we had all those 28 charter schools. Every person from the leadership teams of those were invited to that Zoom meeting. And in addition, we have private schools. And in Fresno County, we understand clearly that every family pays taxes that helps kids in school. So the county office has worked with public, private, every partnership you can imagine, faith-based. It's phenomenal that we love all of our kids, no matter where they get educated.
And their parents.
Yeah.
And we want to be a partner to them. I'm proud. Those communications that took place weekly on Zoom were a function of seeing leadership in action.
Yes.
And we did something phenomenal. We would determine a mandate, and then we would massage it, and then we push it back and say, okay, you think that's going to work for schools, but it's not really going to work for schools. Try it this way.
Yep.
We're willing to be accountable, and we'll follow the rules. However, we want you to have a more student-centered, approach. And practice was dictating policy. And again, we were following the rules, but it was the best example of community collaboration, prioritizing children.
Yes. It was phenomenal when the health department found ways to work with us to get kids back into school as well, get them away from this distance learning. They did everything they could to follow the rules while at the same time getting kids back to school. So the masks and all of those, and we have the maskers and the anti-maskers and all of those, but for us in education, what we're concerned about is every kid feeling safe coming to school and doing everything we can to protect them. And while wearing a mask was a challenge for a lot of families, it kept most of our kids safe when they came back. And then, we didn't have to worry about that 6-foot distancing. And kids were so thrilled to get back into school. I mean, I loved school, and things. But you mentioned something else that I think is really critical. As a former Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, and you as a future Fresno County Superintendent of Schools,
God willing.
Yeah, parent choice is a real positive part of what takes place for a kid to be successful, because we learned something really interesting in research. If a parent likes the teacher, if a parent likes the school, it didn't matter the level of competence of the school or the teacher, the kid succeeded. So parent involvement and parent choice was critical. And we also know something else. A kid can survive one bad teacher. They can't survive 2 in a row. And so one of the things that we have to do is say to parents, be involved in the life of your kids at school, because you're the one that knows them best. You're their first teacher. We're their second, third, and fourth. And if you get involved in the lives of kids, it will make a huge difference for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And you've been involved in the lives of your kids in school. Yes. I know that, so that was really an important thing. We're also talking about, the idea that school is the hub for most of society. We transmit values. We transmit a lot of really good things. We set kids up for failure or success. We train teachers like crazy. We've got to find ways to encourage our teachers as well, who have been through this 2-year of a nightmare, absolute nightmare. I was never trained to be a distance learning teacher. I would have had to scramble like crazy. But I'll tell you what, in a short 2-week period of time, most of our districts got in and did a phenomenal job of getting them trained as best they could. And then at the end of that 3 months, it was March to June in 2020, summer became a training ground. And then we started off the next year hoping we wouldn't have to, but we still did distance learning for another year and stuff. And our folks did a great job, really great job.
I'm very, very proud of the educators.
And I know Fresno County Office of Ed, or the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools office, did a lot of work to help make that happen.
We did.
Yeah.
In fact, if you think about how schools operate, we had 10 mini meetings going on, personnel, fiscal response, facilities. And we held meetings with those counterparts in our school districts so that we could provide them the support they needed through this challenging time.
Yeah. And you know what? We're going to talk about your run for office for County Superintendent of Schools. People don't really understand the county office. They hear about it and things, but, you're an arm of the state, but you're also a support to the district. So you have to make sure compliance is taking place. but you're also a tremendous resource for districts and for charter schools and even private schools to get in services so that our kids not only survive but thrive. And I know you've been involved in another thing called Drive.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that when we get back. I can't believe it, folks. We're done with our third segment here at Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're certainly glad that you've joined us. And I've got Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer with me. You're going to hear more about her candidacy for the county superintendency and also about an initiative called Drive, which is going to make a huge difference for the kids of Fresno County. We'll be right back.
This is Powell to the People on the best talk in town.
Facebook fans, we're certainly glad that you've joined us today as well. Thank you for being here. Make sure you hit that share button and send that on to somebody else so they can watch it at their convenience. That's the unique part of radio and streaming. We're glad you're with us. We're going back to our fourth segment, KXEX 1550 AM.
To the People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to our conversation with Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer, who is a candidate for Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And I've had the pleasure of working with Michele now for over 20 years. Michele, I'm not old enough to have done that, but I know you certainly are.
I feel it.
But 20 years I've got to see you in action. And I've got to tell you, folks, Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer is the real deal. She is an amazing person who loves kids. She is well prepared academically. She's well prepared in the jobs that she's had all the way from preschool through K-14. Everything you can imagine she's been involved in. And she's just got through being the liaison from the Fresno County Office of Education to a program called the Drive Initiative. So, Michele, tell us a little bit about the Drive Initiative. And I know Ashley Swearingen, our former mayor, and with the, foundation, she's doing a lot of work there as well. I was on that board for a period of time, so I know a little bit about it. But, folks, hear about this. It's called the Drive Initiative and a little bit of what's going on with that.
So let me start with the acronym. Drive represents developing the economy, the region's inclusive and sustainable economy. And it's a $4 billion plan. And I'm so proud of the fact that
it's $4 billion,
$4
folks.
billion with a B, $4 billion
Yes.
with a B. And there are 19 different initiatives within it, 2 or 3 of which are dedicated to children. And I'm so proud of the fact that the folks that helped organize it recognized that you needed to invest heavily in education, in the education of our children. So $1 billion of that is dedicated to the 0 to 5 space for
Wow.
children, early learning, which is an equity and a social justice issue, as well as another $1 billion dedicated at the opposite end of the continuum with college, high school graduation, college, and career. So
Yeah, and trying to get every kid into college that would like to go.
Mhm.
And we're even encouraging those who don't want to go to maybe check it out
yeah,
because it can change their lives and paying for education for them.
yes.
You know.
Oh, in
Yeah.
so many instances, yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Well, I know you've been involved with the children's movement and from almost from the day it started
Yes.
and things. So tell us a little bit about where the children's movement is right now.
Well, backing up for a second, from the beginning of being hired at the office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, I felt like my work was really for all children, but especially those who need us most. So I deliberately looked at opportunities in the community to keep children a priority for people thinking about economic development, for folks thinking about city planning.
Yes.
And so my work really evolved, and it was very natural that I took an active role in the children's movement Fresno. And I'm so proud of where we are as a group right now.
That was definitely a hand in glove fit having you in there.
Well, I'm so it's really my life's work to make sure every caring adult in our community feels like they have a role
Yes.
in raising up well our children.
Well, passion and preparation, that meets you right there.
Yes,
You
yes,
know?
I agree. I agree. And I'm so proud of how many community members are meeting our call.
Mhm.
We're being very, very specific now. We used to just say, "Aren't kids great? Well, you want to come and help us." Now we're very specific.
Yes.
Develop the economy. Include. Recognize racial justice as an issue.
Yes.
Acknowledge the importance of family in a home and raising up our children, and that everyone has some responsibility in
Yep,
that.
absolutely. Well, perfect person to do that. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance now. Why do you want to be Fresno County Superintendent of Schools?
The opportunity to lead the educational institution that is inclusive of our 32 school districts, our 28 charter schools, our 11 faith-based schools, where we center families, and we all of us as a community are really focused on raising up our children because we recognize that it's our moral imperative. It's really the chance of a lifetime, and it's about my life's work in one moment, if you will.
Well, I'll tell you what, your preparation could not have zeroed in more for what the needs of the county are or the qualifications to be a county superintendent. It's been pretty unique to have watched your career, and I've had front row seat in it, and I've benefited from the things that you've done as well. But I know that your passion is infectious in a really positive way. You love kids, you love the community. You've been involved in, so many different things, from the children's movement to the Drive Initiative and across the board. And the current county superintendent, Jim Iovino, has seen in you the ability to do all those things and sent you out as the liaison to make that happen. So if you were to say, how do we prepare somebody to be a county superintendent? It would be what you've done, Michele. So tell us a little bit more about your passion. Where do you think you're going to be taking us, and what are some of your goals for the future?
Well, I'm so excited about what feels like some synergy towards a really bright future for our children. I mentioned I'm a little biased about Fresno. We've worked very, very hard as a community, as a civic infrastructure, to position our students to be ready. We have a community agenda that's a shared vision for our children too. It's almost like that game of chutes and ladders. Let's help raise them up when the opportunities present themselves. Early learning, reading by third grade, math, successful math in eighth grade, dual enrollment, so that we have children who are graduating high school and college in the same week.
Yes.
It's incredible. Robust CTE offerings so that children graduate, go into the world of career or college, ready to take care of themselves and their families. That's a vision. That's a vision that each of us can embrace and work towards and find a place at the table to do our part to make it happen.
Well, you have articulated very well, the whole idea behind being a leader in education, and you've spent your career doing that kind of thing. But I wanted to ask you a simple kind of question. What teachers influenced you? Who were some of your hero teachers?
Well, Larry Powell. Honestly,
Well,
and I think about my experiences in Riverdale, and that was such a beautiful experience to grow up in a small town with so much nurturing support.
Yeah.
Everybody knew my business, and that was good for me.
you had many parents.
That was good. That was good for everyone to know my business.
Yes.
And then I had incredible teachers at Fresno State too. Very, very memorable. Very, very inspirational. But as a leader,
Yep.
being able to watch you, Larry, work and be diplomatic and discern where to invest time and resources was an invaluable opportunity. I had the similar experiences with Jim. I'm grateful that he's trusted me to
Yep.
be beside him for so many of those big decisions and to have some insight.
Well, and we all need heroes. We all need people who impacted us. And I had folks in my life, teachers that were pretty special. I learned one thing from one of them particularly, and that was this: know a child's name. And so one of the things I did when I was teaching is I would go to the CUME folders before kids came to my class. And, I had 6 classes teaching in high school, and I'd memorize every kid's name, look at the picture. So when they walked into class, I'd say, Johnny, hey, Freddie, Alice, we're really glad you're here, because a person's name is so important to them. But learning to connect early, eliminating barriers, making them feel comfortable in a classroom where they may or may not know anybody. Those are all things that we have done together, is to try to set up an environment where a kid is most likely to learn, the parent is most likely to support what's taking place in that classroom, and we clearly understand the parent's role in education. Teachers, invaluable. Administrators, invaluable. Classified, and I've talked about this in motivational talks for years about the bus drivers, the first contact. So when I've got a bus driver that says to Johnny as he's getting on, hey, you get to ride my bus. This is great. I can't wait to take you to school. That kid's going to want to be there every morning and things. And so you've worked with some classified folks too. I know you have an administrative assistant that you've worked with. Tell me a little bit about that, because they're so valuable to us. We can't do everything as administrators, but we have people around us who help.
Well, I think a lot about raising up our people too. So my administrative assistant isn't with me anymore. She just got promoted. I'm so proud of that.
That's the downside of doing a good job.
And in our office, I think of a young lady named Isela that when I came in 15 years ago was a clerical assistant. She's now a director.
Wow.
I'm so proud of the work that folks have demonstrated in our office and their trajectory towards, frankly, realizing their own potential.
Yeah.
It's not just our children, it's our people too. And so but it's true about our classified staff at schools. They are they sometimes engender even more trust from the families.
Yep.
It's the front office lady who gets to hold all the new babies.
Yes.
It's the custodian who opens the door after hours to get the homework that got left behind.
Exactly.
Lots of respect for us.
And it's a team. Every school has a team, and boy, when you develop that team, every kid feels successful. Every parent loves the school, and it's interesting. Our job is to make sure that happens, and you, as the leader of Fresno County Schools, will have that obligation and responsibility that goes along with it. I've got to tell you, folks, Michele Cantwell Cofer, Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer, is so well equipped to be the county superintendent of schools. It's going to be a phenomenal thing that allows two things to happen, and that's this: carrying on good things that are already in place, but establishing new. And I love what happens with that. Dr. Pete Mias, who is my predecessor as county superintendent, said, Larry, I did some really good things when I was county superintendent, but I love what you're doing. I've said the same thing to Jim. I did some good things. He's now doing things that I didn't even think about. When Jim's done and you take over, you're going to be doing things that none of us ever thought about, and the kids of Fresno County and the families are going to benefit. Dr. Michele Cantwell Cofer, running for County Superintendent of Schools. We're so glad that you've joined us today. Thank you for being a part of this, and I look forward to the next couple of weeks because that election is here right now.
It is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, Michele.
Thank you, Larry.
Folks, make sure you get out and vote, because if you don't vote, you got no say. Have a say. We're so glad you've been with Powell to the People. We'll see you next week. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.